Hi Paula, my name is Mark Gillespie and I'm from Wise, Virginia, but I haven't lived back at home for over 20 years. You never appreciate Southern cooking more than when you don't get it that much. I live up here near Rochester, New York, and we have great food options. We've got Asian restaurants and Italian and Mexican. We don't want for much up here. But I tell you, on a cold winter day, nothing beats a bowl of my Mama's famous soup beans with cornbread. Now, soup beans is a real simple kind of thing. I don't even really have a recipe. I just sort of throw together what happens to be in the kitchen. I get myself a pound of beans, usually in the Mexican section up here, and a half pound or a pound of bacon, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. And then I throw in a little bit of salt and pepper and some onions maybe. And if I feel like it, maybe some peppers or whatever, but usually it's just plain like this. And on the side you get a nice cornbread, and usually what we do is we just crumble it right in, and it sucks up the juices really nicely. This reminds me of childhood, and nothing beats it. Now that takes me back. There's no wrong way to do soup beans. Matter of fact, some friends of mine back in Kentucky where I went to college used to have Bean Fest in September, and everybody would bring a crock pot of beans over with their own special recipe, and we'd have a little competition to see whose was best. Of course, there were just minor variations on things, but it gave us a good excuse to eat several bowls of beans and have a good time. I can eat soup beans almost every meal of the day. Now, I can't just have one bowl. We don't like to put a lot of spices in the soup beans because after you've got them done and you serve them out, everybody has their own little way of preparing it, whether it's with Tabasco sauce or salsa or whatever. What I've got here is a jar of homemade chow chow, and inside is a concoction of green tomatoes and onions and garlic and who knows what else is in here. I'm just going to add a spoonful of this to my soup beans, flavor it up. Keep it on the side and just keep adding it as I need it. You can also add corn relish or anything you want. Oh, that's nice. So what Southern cooking means to me is memory. It ties me to the people I grew up with and the land I grew up with, and makes me feel like a kid again. My Mama's kitchen was a real mess. She had spices stacked up to the ceiling, she had food in jars that she pickled herself, and when she got going making soup beans, she'd just throw anything she could find into the pot, and it was always different. And I always appreciated the fact that she never seemed to go right off of a recipe. Now, soup beans is not fast food. You've got to soak the beans the night before. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to cook. The one thing about good Southern cooking is it often takes some time. And during that time, you get to sit around in the kitchen and talk to the people you love. My Mama was like that. She would take the time it took to make sure I knew how to read a page of a book, or make sure that I understood, what kind of vegetable was coming out of her garden. And sometimes she'd even let me cook in her kitchen. The one thing about soup beans is it's all made with ingredients that you don't have to refrigerate. So think about somebody living up in an old mountain cabin about 150 years ago. They've got some cured ham in their root cellar, maybe some onions, maybe some garlic. The beans are dry from the mercantile. And they throw it all together in a pot, and they keep that pot hot on their cast iron stove because they didn't have a refrigerator put it in. Soup beans and cornbread is a simple recipe. And when I eat it, it takes me back to a time when things were just a lot more simple for me too. When I didn't have as much to worry about except keeping my bike tire inflated and whether the pop was cold at my dad's store. And when I eat these soup beans, it takes me back to that time and helps me relax. It's just a little break from the busyness of my current life. When I was growing up in the mountains, I'd watch TV and I'd read magazines, and I couldn't wait to leave. And when I graduated from high school, I took off. But now I miss it. And it takes a bowl of soup beans to make me realize I didn't have it so bad back in Wise, Virginia. It was a real good place to grow up.